So this one today is a Toyota Yaris 2012 model. It's a 1.3 petrol engine with roughly 53,000 miles on the clock. One of the jobs I'm going to be doing today on this Toyota is a brake fluid change. Now the reservoir on this car is tucked away down under there, but it's not as bad as it looks as some of them. We've got an access panel here, so we'll go ahead and remove that. Now this rubber strip runs right across it. You can put it that way and it just comes off of a hook at the end there. It's got a hole there which the hook locates into. And these two you just press in, pull that out. And then we've got a couple of tabs there. Releases that. Stay out of the way now. And there we have the reservoir. The cap off. And you've got a like a filter there, I guess. Just a pair of pliers to get that out. Let that drain a little bit. First thing I want to do is remove as much fluid out of this reservoir as possible, and then refill it with fresh. It's not really a lot of point in pumping all that dirty fluid around the system when you can get a majority of it out before you even start. I've got this old thing here for siphoning out fluids. You could use a turkey baster or anything you can find to hand, really. It's a bit old and dilapidated, this thing, but it still sort of works. See if I can get a bit more out. It looks like about it. Yeah. That's all we're going to get out of that reservoir. But it just saves a bit of time. As you can see on the cap, it does state there, .4 brake fluid. Yeah, just make sure you've got a new container, not one that's been sat on the shelf for years, so they do absorb moisture. I normally buy, you know, a 5 litre tub because I'm doing brake fluid changes, brake work fairly regularly. 5 litres you should be able to pick up for around about £30. Again, prices do vary because of all the different brands on the market. Right. Now I'm going to be using a pressure bleeder tool, which obviously not everybody's got. There are plenty of different tools on the market for bleeding brakes. Up until recently, I was just using a small vacuum pump that you could put onto the bleed nipple and bleed it through that way. Just pull the fluid through. I've never really been a fan of pumping the brake pedal, especially on older cars, because sometimes you can end up tearing the seals in the brake master cylinder because you're pushing the pedal down to extremes that it doesn't usually go to. I've used this a few times now. It's quite a good tool. Get that on. So Hopefully that should pressurise now. I think it says do not exceed 28 psi. So we're only at about 12 there. Give it a little bit more. It does make bleeding brakes a whole lot easier because, as you can see, I've got some fluid in there already. Pump it up to pressure. Make sure that's not hot. And then I can just leave it there, and as I'm bleeding the fluid out, it's automatically topping it back up. So we'll take the ramp up next and start bleeding. When bleeding the brakes, you're going to need a container of some sort. You can buy bleed bottles. As you can see, I've constructed this just from an old brake fluid bottle. An old bit of wire there as a hanger. Bit of tube. That's all you need. So this, you can hook it on somewhere underneath the car. And yeah, it just makes life a little bit easier. Right, I'm starting on the passenger side rear, which is the furthest from the master cylinder. They always say to start with the furthest one away from the master cylinder, although I don't think it's that crucial when you're changing fluid. Maybe if the system's empty and you're bleeding it from fresh, but I'm going to start here anyway because I need to start somewhere. So you've got a bleed nipple little cover there. Just pull that off, just a little rubber boot. And these ones, I believe, are 7mm. That's it. Right, I just wanted to make sure I could loosen that. The ring spanner. I'm working a little bit blind here. That's it. And as you can see, the fluid's coming out now. Going down into the bottle. So I'll leave that for a little while. I'll let that bleed through probably about 1/4 of a litre. That should be plenty for this back one. And then do the other rear one and finish up at the front. Right, that's been running for a little while now, and we've got about 1/4 of a litre in the bottle. The air bubbles you can see there, it's just where I've loosened the nipple so much. As you can see, it's just pulling a bit of air through the thread and shoving it down the pipe. It's not actually coming out of the system in the car. If you loosen it off too much, you'll get more air bubbles like that. But as I say, they're not going into the system of the car, so they can't hurt that. So small, some of these bleed nipples. These are 7mm. Don't have to do them up too tight. Don't want to risk shearing one off. So that's one of the rear ones done. I'll go ahead and do the other side now, and then we'll move to the front. Right, we're on the passenger side front now. Here's a bleed nipple. It's usually up at the highest point, obviously, to let any air out that may be in there. Just going to make sure I can crack it loose. Yeah. Should bleed a little bit quicker at the front. That's it, and we just leave that. I've been checking the pressurised container that's all under the bonnet, and that's still got plenty of fluid in it, and pressure's still around 20 psi, so that's fine just to leave it to do its thing. Right, this front one, we'll lock it off there. I think we've got, oh yeah, you can see quite a bit of fluid in there. It's 900 ml there. I was going to say roughly a litre. I've still got to do the other front one yet, but obviously that other front one is the shortest pipe, so won't need to take quite so much out of that one. On cars where the fluid hasn't been changed for a long time, you can clearly see it comes out grey colour, and then eventually it will get down to this kind of colour, a bit clearer. You can buy some fluids that are actually like a light green in colour as well. Maybe that would be easier to know when you've put enough through the system. But yeah, as I say, it's normally around about a litre I'd put through in a brake fluid change. And if you haven't got the pressure tool, like I was saying earlier, you'd need an assistant to sit in the car and pump the pedal while you crack the bleed nipple loose, get them to push the pedal down. And if you're having problems, you can lock it off while the pedal's down, let them lift the pedal up, and then as they go to press it down again, crack the bleed nipple loose, and that just kind of stops any air going back in to and fro. So sometimes that's a handy little tip if you're having problems bleeding the brake. But like I was saying, I prefer to either use a vacuum extraction tool on here to pull the fluid through, or just put some pressure on it. I've been round all four wheels now. Used about a litre of fluid. I'm just going to remove this tool, pressure out of that. What a good tool that, I'm quite impressed with it. Wish I bought it years ago. These you can, as you can see, that's a Sealy one. Not that bad price actually. This was around, I think it was around about £55. You can get even cheaper ones, you know, the same sort of design online. I'm not sure how good they are, but I thought I'd go for a decent brand, being as I'll be using it quite regularly. And this cap that it comes with is it's the only one it comes with, but it's quite a popular size, quite a common size. Most manufacturers use it. Obviously there will be ones that it won't fit, but you can buy another kit with all different caps in it. Or you could probably make your own. It wouldn't be that difficult to actually get one of these, drill a hole through it, put some washers and a union on it. Right, just going to make sure that's got enough fluid in it. Yep, that's up to the maximum line. Mustn't forget the little filter bit that goes in there. That's it. Put this cap back on. Right. Now, if you spill any brake fluid, make sure you've got some water to hand. Just give it a little rinse off, because it does make a very good paint stripper. Right, I think I'm done under here now. That's tight. Let's get this back on. That in there. It goes down in there. So all that's left to do now is make sure you've got a decent brake pedal. It shouldn't have changed it at all. Yeah, that's a good pedal. It's rock hard now. And as with all jobs, I'll just give this one a road test and have a little look underneath and make sure there's no leaks from any of the bleed nipples. Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully the video's been of some help for you. And if it has, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It will help our channel out no end. Cheers.